best a man can get.
Back here, first things first, Yahoo senior writer Vincent Goodwill joins us now.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
V-Money. Everyone, Big John, my camera guy, he wants a nickname. He's been here 2 days, want a nickname. So V-Money, Big John, let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
I called him V-Money, and you guys said never call him that again.
I said never call him that again. You were
But
totally
I put
correct.
something on it.
It sounds a little different coming out of his mouth than yours, Jen. I got to be honest.
Well, at least you're on it. Sixers, Raptors, they'll play
Big
game
John, what
5
up, baby?
tonight. This series tied at 2 games apiece. Toronto owned Game 4 thanks to Kawhi Leonard and his 39 points. Joel Embiid, who was sick before the game, only had 11 points for Philly. Head coach Brett Brown said he still didn't have an update on Embiid's status ahead of Game 5. Vinny, what do you expect tonight?
I expect... Oh, wait. Do we know if Joel Embiid is playing? Do we know if he's sick?
We don't
Do we know
know
if he has the runs or diarrhea or something like that?
He typically has the update like 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay. So we haven't heard it quite yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically, he texts the coach in the morning so he can scare the shit out of the coach. Yes,
There you go.
That's what he did.
That's exactly what just happened.
Let's assume he's playing. Let's assume Joel Embiid's playing.
Okay, if we assume he's playing, but how well does he play? Because after Game 2, you could say, all right, maybe Joel Embiid is the best player in this series. And then after Game 4, you were like, wait a minute. Kawhi Leonard is the best player in this series. We still don't know who the best team is in this series, but we know that Kawhi Leonard is the best performer here. Now, for me, I think Kawhi Leonard's going to play his best game. And if you're on the road and you're Philadelphia, you can't depend on your role players tonight. This has to be a Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid game. And because it's going to be a Jimmy Butler game, it means that there's not going to be a big Ben Simmons factor because he's not a factor when he doesn't have the ball. To me, that is the biggest dichotomy of all of this for Philadelphia, is that to maximize your best performer, which has been Butler, you have to minimize your most important player, which is Simmons, which leaves Embiid as a total wild card, and you don't know how he's going to perform from night to night.
Is Ben Simmons really the most important player? Because he hasn't really been, especially you saw Jimmy Butler is now taking command. This offense is now seemingly going through Jimmy Butler. Ben Simmons has been a non-factor.
But that's Ben Simmons being a non-factor is one of the reasons that the Sixers have not been able to, in my mind, fully take advantage of a Raptors team that right now is not doing a ton great, except for employing Kawhi Leonard. The bench has not been great. Pascal Siakam in Game 4 was not very good himself. They clearly miss OG. Fred VanVleet is MIA totally. So Philly, if they had been playing, because Jimmy Butler's playing better than I think would have been fair to anticipate, given how up and down he was all season. Jimmy Butler's been consistent. What Philly is missing is the process and the Prince playing up to their abilities, right?
Absolutely.
It's Joel Embiid consistently producing at the level we know he can, and Ben Simmons producing at all to the level that we know he can. So I've been very complimentary of Ben Simmons' defense, and I had a very smart NBA person reach out to me yesterday and say, Nick, you are getting the Ben Simmons defense in this series totally wrong. He is not using his length, and he is not using his strength to his advantage when he's guarding Kawhi. Yes, Kawhi might be shooting a lower percentage against Simmons than he is against other people, but it's because he's flame-throwing against everyone else. The point that was made to me is that Simmons is not steering Kawhi anywhere, that Kawhi is getting exactly to his spots, a la Bernard King, like you said yesterday, as far as who he reminds you of. So to answer your question, long-winded, I apologize, but Ben Simmons, if he plays great, they'll win. Like, if Ben Simmons has a great game, assuming Joel Embiid is healthy-ish, they will win. But this is the worst playoff series thus far of his career, in a spot where Toronto actually, to me, looks a little wounded and looks a little Toronto in the postseason-ish.
I think what you said is the most important thing. And that's all we can establish in this series. We can be like, oh, Joel Embiid, he's not dependable. His health, is he in shape? All that. Ben Simmons, oh, he can't shoot. The number one thing in this series is Kawhi Leonard is the best player. So if you say what's going to happen in game number 5, that's the only thing that we can predict. All right? You can talk about all these other things. Kawhi Leonard has been outstanding. But to your point, as good as Kawhi has been, we still don't know who's the best team, because we don't know who's going to show up for the Raptors. Now, I do believe that this can be a franchise-changing game. There's a rumor out there that the choice right now for Kawhi would be Toronto and the Clippers. If Kawhi was able to get game number 5 in Jurassic Park, and somehow they get to the finals, Kawhi could stay there. So for me, forget all these other things. Van Fleet, is he going to come off the bench and do something? Well, no, not predictable. So for me, I believe Kawhi is going to send another message in this game. He didn't like the way he finished off and missed those 2 free throws, couldn't get the 40-point game. So that's what I'll be looking for in game number 5, Jenna.
But Vinny, now you're banking on Kawhi going out and doing this again and again. If there's one thing that we've known about the Raptors is that they always have the deepest bench. That's the one thing that's been a constant last year, this year. They've all but disappeared. Now you got to bank on Kawhi giving you 39, 40, 41 points a night?
Well, not that production, not the number. But to me, look, we can say what we want to say about the bench and the role players. Sometimes stars got to be stars. This is a star league. This is the league where the best players have the ball in their hands the most time, and they can have a disproportionate effect on the game compared to anybody else, whether that's Kawhi or Jimmy Butler or Embiid or Simmons, whatever it is. Like, you have to call those guys and put the responsibility onto them. And if that's Embiid, who went from basically calling himself he called himself the process, as in the entire Philadelphia process, and cupping his hands to the ears of the Philadelphia fans and egging on and all sort of type of stuff, right? Okay, if you're going to do that, be the guy. No matter whether you're sick, you're ill, whatever the case may be the guy. And Ben Simmons fancies himself as someone who is in that same category. He thinks that he's a top 10 player in the game, regardless of his deficiencies. If that's the case, be the guy.
And there's an element of this to where Philly has to look back on game 4 and say, okay, with a minute left, it's a 1-point game. Up to that point, Joel Embiid had made 2 shots. Ben Simmons had made 2 shots. Kawhi Leonard was playing out of his mind. And it was a 1-point game with a minute left. That they could have won game 4 with their two best young pieces, if not young players, because Butler's there, were playing terribly. Kawhi was playing great, and they still were right there until the very end. They know their complementary pieces, shockingly, are outplaying the Raptors' complementary pieces. I wonder if that travels north of the border tonight.
All right. Leave it there. Take a break. Vinny, stick around. Coming up.